There are many debates on what is the best vampire supernatural series on TV. Some people like the Vampire Dairies or the originals or both. Others like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and even some like Charmed and the Discovery of Witches. If you haven't guessed, I am a True Blood stan. Not a fan, stan. In fact, I think that True Blood is one of the best series that has ever graced the TV set. And no, I don't just love it for the eye candy. That would be very superficial. I like it because as crazy and as campy as it gets, it's really allegorical for real life. I know, there's no such thing as vampires or fairies or werewolves for that matter. Although there are real life witches. Anyway, I digress. What I'm trying to say is that the whole idea of warring tribes and factions duking it out for power and prestige is real. Just look around you. Dissension and hate speech is on the rise, especially on the internet. Social vampires want to drain you of your energy, aka blood. People are regressing into primitive tribes. And everyone is afraid of the ultimate death. Being canceled? No, I mean the true death. So in this video, I'm going to explain how True Blood supernaturals, or the SUPS, are seeping into the reality of our everyday life, and in some cases, making us completely miserable. So please, stay tuned.
American Vampire League wishes to perpetrate the notion that we are just like you, and I suppose, in a few small ways we are. We're narcissists.
We care only about getting what we want, no matter what the cost, just like you.
Let's be real here, guys. There are numerous factions, more than we can actually count. But since we only have limited bandwidth, and some of us, like myself, have the attention span of a 3-year-old, I'm going to break down the factions into two. I'm not talking about liberals and conservatives. I'm talking about Fangs and Faith. I know what you're thinking. Fangs are the vampires, and you wouldn't be wrong. However, Fangs are more of what the vampires symbolize. You see, vampires are fictional characters who represent our innate human desire for blood. Power.
Inside each of us is both man and beast. And the man is selfish. He wants the best piece of meat, the biggest house, prettiest girl, all to himself.
Just think about it. Vampires grow more powerful as they age, and they can replenish and seemingly live forever so long as they have access to power, blood. Vampires, or Team Fangs, are ruled by primal instincts and desires. They are individualistic in nature and just want to hunt and party, honey. They tend to engage in behaviors without thinking about the consequences or how their actions may adversely affect other people. Now we all know that Fangs are dangerous to themselves and others, and if their power goes unchecked for long periods of time, they implode, destroying themselves and the societies in which they belong to. The most prominent members on Team Fang are, of course, Russell Edgington, Mary Ann the Maynard, the Newlands, Marnie the Witch, and Salome under the cult of Lilith. Now, Team Faith holds the overall belief that humanity is good. Team Faith is all about compassion because many of its members have been on the receiving end of affliction, oppression, and pain. However, instead of succumbing and turning to the dark side, they decided that when others go low, they are going to go high. They are going to use their gifts to help humanity grow and not hinder it. Team Faith is all about inspiration. They inspire Team Fangs to do better, to be better, to reach higher levels and become better people, or in True Blood's case, to become better SUPS. Team Faith are mostly light workers. They always work towards the light, with their main goals being redemption and revelation and self-empowerment and enlightenment. Team Faith aren't angels, and in many situations they are tempted to dance with the devil, or, in other words, to give in to their primal desires. However, they seem to learn invaluable lessons about themselves from these experiences and thus grow to be better people. Team Faith has learned self-control through self-awareness, discipline, and compassion. In other words, they have learned to not be slaves to the blood. People on Team Faith would be Lafayette the Brujo, Sookie the Fae, Sam the Shapeshifter, Alcide the Werewolf, Bill Compton, Godric, and even Eric Northman, which are vampires. Now let's clear the air here. We all have Fangs and we all have Faith. The terms and the teams are not mutually exclusive. However, like the SUPS on True Blood, we are forced to pick a side. We have to check the box that we mostly identify with. And there are some characters that kind of meander back and forth. But in most cases, Team Fangs are all about acquiring more power.
We harness the blood. We study it. We capture another fairy even and breed them. If the Japanese can synthesize human blood, why can't we do the same thing with fairy blood?
While Team Faith is all about resisting it, or resisting the power. Let's just take a look at our first Fang, Russell Edgington.
I couldn't help but notice your expanding ambitions. You're after the whole world now, aren't you? Well, I can help you get it.
Russell is a 3,000-year-old vampire who has a history of reaping, reaving, and pillaging cities and towns. Worse, Russell is older than God and richer than him too.
Russell Edgington.
You may call me king.
You would think that Russell would be content with all of his acquired assets over the 3 centuries of roaming the earth. But no, he wants to attain more power. He coerces Sophie Ann, the Queen of Louisiana, to marry him.
I want you to accept my proposal of marriage.
I've turned you down countless times. Why would I accept now?
Because in addition to never touching you, I will settle all your debts.
And due to all of her outstanding debts, she is forced to oblige. Now, gold diggers may see this marriage between Russell and Sophie Ann as a great opportunity. However, others may see it as a plight for the rich to keep getting richer.
I hereby renounce my fealty to the Kingdom of Louisiana. And I humbly pledge my loyalty to your majesty.
Wonderful!
Come on, how many corporations have brought faltering companies who were deep in debt for pennies on the dollar? How many countries have acquired land by kicking the natives off of it, or worse, unliving them? I'm pretty sure that I can name a few.
You're acting like a century-old child.
Relax! I've already sent a $500,000 check to the AVL in support of their foolish vampire rights amendment.
You can buy your way out of everything!
Of course I can. This is America.
People like Russell are never happy because their sole existence is to acquire more power. Russell was a king of Mississippi, but he needed to expand to other territories. Then he needed to challenge the magistrate because no other entity should have real power over him. We can see this now with tech giants, and no, I'm not going to say any names, challenging the government and displacing elected officials and civil servants. Now, we know that powerful people have always ruled from the sidelines, but now they flaunt their power, daring people to challenge them. Russell even managed to wiggle his way into the authority, all while they were staging their own internal coup to rise up against Roman and the Sanguinists. Russell always believed that vampires were inherently superior. He didn't need the Book of Lilith to convince him of that. But powerful people seem to stick together, or at least for a short while when it benefits them. South May rescued Russell so that he can aid her on her quest to make vampires the supreme ruler. But Russell ain't bending the knee for nobody.
I saved you, Russell. I can put you back in the ground.
It's not long before he ventures off on his own quest. His mission to find fairy blood so that he can be a daywalker and be, yes, you guys guessed it, even more powerful. However, it isn't just Russell who is incredibly powerful. It's also the institutions, including the church. One more particularly the Fellowship of the Sun, an anti-vampire establishment that hates, well, all SUPS. Steve Newland, along with his followers, wanted to perform a lock-in where they could roast Godric, a 2,000-year-old vampire. Meet the Sun was what I think the Reverend called it. Sadly, this lock-in and baking vampire session was attuned to the lynchings in the Jim Crow South. We all know that it's not uncommon for religious institutions to fan the flames of hate. It's also not uncommon for religious institutions to commit heinous crimes or acts towards marginalized people. We've seen this before with the witch hunts and how Antonia died at the hands of corrupt clergy members. Worse, smooth-talking preachers like Steve Newland bend the words of God. They do this because God is not important to them. Power is. And like the vampires who need blood, the Newlands need power in membership and in belief. We see this happening right now on social media with influencers. Everyone and their mama is on social media, sharing their life, foregoing both their freedom and their privacy. And for what? For recognition? For internet fame? For power?
Who's a pretty girl? Huh? You're a pretty girl. You're pretty. Yes, you are. Piss off.
Membership and followers equate to dollars in the social media world. However, members or followers of influencers are stuck in an echo chamber where negative ideas and beliefs are reinforced, changing their overall blueprint and social behaviors. Just think about Marianne and how she was able to influence the fictional town of Bon Tom. Influencers do pretty much the same thing by getting their followers to be addicted to a certain experience. And in some cases, the addiction is bad, real bad. Internal fighting, bigotry, racism, hate gets lots of clicks and generates even more controversy. Worse, this type of content is rewarded by the algorithm gods. So much so that these influencers make thousands of dollars off of spewing negativity and hate. Worse, addictions create an inflated ego and a dependency on external stimuli.
Peace is fuck.
Just look at how Russell got all those wolves hooked on his blood. Debbie Pelt, for example, spiraled, losing control and her dignity. Not to mention, she lost a good wolf, a man named Alcide.
Open up, little piggy.
Huff and a puff and a
And don't even get me started on the other wearers, including the were-panthers. Their addictions tarnish their bloodlines, making it even harder for them to procreate. Now, many of us can relate to this because too much social media makes us less productive. We are so inundated with information that we get addicted to distractions, thus losing our ability to do nominal tasks. We lose our ability to procreate, for better words.
We gonna make a baby.
You and me?
No, silly. You and me.
But two questions. Why is he all right with this? And also, if he ain't part of the baby making, what's he getting naked?
Russell, the Newlands, Marianne, and even Salome didn't really care about their followers. All they cared about was the bottom line. The saying goes that everyone loves a good villain, but if the world is filled with villains, then we as a functional society would cease to exist.
Roman was the only one keeping a lid on this. He was the only one stopping the world from sliding back into the dark ages.
There has to be some level of balance, and that's where the faith members come in. Bill Compton is perhaps the biggest faith member. He has battled his own darkness for decades, choosing solitude rather than conformity and community. Sookie Stackhouse inspires virtually all vampires to be better SUPS. Her light shines through the darkness, inspiring Bill, Eric, and even Pam. Godric can be considered the vampire prophet, encouraging Eric and all other vampires in his coven to have compassion. Lafayette struggles with his own loneliness and insecurities, but through it all, he wants to help people by linking them to the spirit world. Alcide wants to get the wolves off of vamp blood, but he first must take down the Packmaster, all while wrestling his own demons and dark desires. Sam is all about shape-shifting and learning how to adapt to dire situations to ensure his own survival. And Eric must be the Viking warrior, standing up against corruption and unchecked power. So what team are you on? Team Faith or Team Fangs? Please sound off in the comments below.